Howling at the Hamilton was a rousing success. We started that in 2008 as well. It's a fundraiser for the Humane Society of the Palouse. It's the brainchild of Emily Spellman, whose husband, Jeff, is an employee here in City Hall. It's a very successful fundraiser and a lot of fun. I remember talking with some mayoral counterparts from around the region, and they go, oh yeah, we have those events all the time, and we had 25 dogs last year. Well, Moscow's first effort at this, we had 250 dogs, and our record so far is 395, so stay tuned. So there. In 2009, Officer Rick Whitmore was the local coordinator for Moscow's leg of the International Law Enforcement Torch Run for Special Olympics. And for me, it was such a valuable reminder of what gives life meaning. If you've hung out with Special Olympic athletes, you know it's about friendship, fun, mutual support, and trying one's best. And they did. It was a terrific event. In that same year, Moscow continued the scientific approach to setting greenhouse gas emissions reduction targets. I wanted to have a measurable baseline for those, much to the dismay of some people who would have urged this along sooner, but we're getting there. We embraced the concept of mixed-use zoning for Legacy Crossing, which would subsequently come to be. We stepped up our support for public transit in a pretty major way. We became the first city in the state to ban smoking in bars. That was by ordinance 2009-14, and we passed the important but much maligned chicken ordinance. So that was 2009-23.
No toms allowed.
That's right, no toms. Uh-oh, let me back up here. There you go. So 2010, Malcolm Renfrew celebrated his 100th birthday with a big party, including the University of Idaho pep band. And President Nellis described Malcolm as a 20th and 21st century Renaissance man because of his involvement in, quote, community engagement, music, the arts, and philanthropy. And for those of you who knew Malcolm Renfrew, you know that there's a chemistry building named after him. He had an illustrious career as a physical scientist and research chemist. He held some 15 patents. He was associated with the DuPont team that created Teflon, and Dr. Renfrew, along with his wife Carol, were institutions in our community. So for all of the recognition he received in the sciences, those things that President Nellis singled out about him were those things close to the heart, the community engagement, music, the arts, and philanthropy. Malcolm died this year at the age of 103, and it was a very good life indeed. I ribbed him one time after they moved out to Good Sam. I said, Malcolm, I'm missing your letters to the editor. And sure enough, he just popped one out right there, so he could still do it. In 2010, we completed Phase 4 of Moscow's wastewater treatment plant to control phosphorus discharges, and Phase 5 is addressing the temperature and dissolved oxygen requirements. In 2010, our then chief building official in the Community Development Department, Carol Alexander, was named Building Official of the Year in Idaho. Carol has since retired, but she's the person who started that cool little garden between the parking lot over there and the sidewalk by the Mann Building. We had federal stimulus funding that year to install 95 curb ramp improvements and to add 3 new bus shelters, making a total of 11 new shelters that year. In 2010, I convened the first of the Poverty on the Palouse series of meetings, which was captured the attention of a number of folks, including Moscow League of Women Voters, which spent a little bit over a year working on a study. That study is now posted on the National League of Women Voters website, and just a couple weeks ago, some of the Moscow League were invited over to Pullman to present that as a model for the Pullman League's upcoming study. We'll see what they do with that, but I've heard that study referenced a number of times by benevolent organizations, by agencies that have cited it as a reference, as a justification for their grant requests, and the Inland Northwest Community Foundation, at least, has said they pay attention when they see references to the work we've been doing here. So in addition to helping grantors, Moscow now has the CHAS Clinic, the Community Health Association of Spokane, and with an influx of some $650,000 here just in the last month or so, they became a federally qualified health center looking to expand the services that are offered to people who are underinsured, as well as anybody else who may want to go there. We've established Family Promise of the Palouse, and Bruce and Kathy Pittman were driving forces in getting that initiated. We took one of the City of Moscow van pool rigs down to Lewiston that summer, and we learned about Family Promise, what it could mean. It's temporary housing for homeless families in area churches, whether they're sponsored churches or they're host congregations, or they just help each other by bringing food or attending the day center, which just had a ribbon cutting here in this last week. The need and the enthusiasm to continue these cooperative efforts is high, and we will have another meeting of the Poverty on the Palouse group this Wednesday here in City Council chambers. The Southeast Moscow Industrial Park concept plan was developed in 2010, a 78-acre park at the southern city limits down there around Fountain Aviation. It would reconfigure the floodplain. I've heard reference to maybe expanding the buildable area by some 80%, having that light industry restored to our community, since we have sort of folded that into mixed-use development and other purposes. We had the railroad and agricultural uses in the core of our town, and now we're going to be seeing some of this legacy crossing development, which is a wonderful idea, displacing those formerly industrial uses in that area. So being able to have light manufacturing, assembly, bringing ideas from our research institutions, our universities to reality at a place like that, possibly having apprenticeship and certificate programs for those folks who may not be inclined to four-year college credentials or beyond, but some real opportunities with that site, plus helping meet EPA standards for stormwater management. Paradise Creek daylighting and Stadium Drive improvements were the two projects in 2010 that then Interim President Stephen Daley Larson and I set as our priorities. We hoped to be able to accomplish two things. Neither of us initiated those programs, but those were the tops on our list, and we thought they were doable, and sure enough, they were. That was a collaborative endeavor involving the university, the Army Corps of Engineers, the City of Moscow, Idaho Transportation Department, and Palouse Clearwater Environmental Institute, among others. The project complements the other priority we set, which was the fully signalized intersection and that long-awaited crosswalk at Pullman Road with the extension of Peterson Drive to Stadium Drive. In 2011, the City Council passed Resolution 2011-04 that supported the Bag It campaign to reduce distribution, use, and disposal of plastic bags through outreach, education, and voluntary cooperation by businesses. And in that same year, the controversial so-called megaloads began to rumble through our downtown en route to the Alberta tar sands. Among the things the city council member, Walter Steed, told me when I inquired of council members and city staff, Walter said one of the things he's most proud of is declaring that megaloads would have no effect on Moscow infrastructure as they move through town on state highways. That remains kind of a controversial issue, and I think probably not going away soon. There we go, Legacy Crossing. So in 2012, the ordinance number 10 established the overlay zone for Legacy Crossing, which is a timely idea for transit-oriented, walkable, bikeable, mixed-use development. It earned the 2013 Idaho Smart Growth Award for Planning and Policy, again, in large part to the vision of our Community Development Department for being able to articulate the vision for this. Moscow Urban Renewal Agency has been working hard on the model for this, and our City Council saw fit to support that concept of the overlay zone. Speaking of biking, in that zone, the 2012 Ride Idaho Cycling Tour came through Moscow. Again, they drew 360 riders and 40 to 50 volunteers representing 31 states and Canada. The time before they came through was 2007. So I think recreational tourism has a real draw here, especially as we see our bicycle pedestrian trails and these maps that show loops. I'm optimistic about what might happen between Colfax and Pullman, for example, and speaking with the mayor of Colfax about the possibilities there. The L'État Trail is about to extend that route from Troy down to Kendrick and to the Julietta Trail. So possibilities. This is the rebirth of our Burminator, the enigmatic machine. I think the first one we captured was, this is Burmy 1 from 2010. The Burminator 2 is now online. You may have seen that in the Light Up the Night parade that we just had. This represents the city's commitment to expending tax dollars wisely and to conserve resources, monetary and otherwise. This is a repurposed ditch cleaning machine. Dan, what's the real name of it?
A force feed loader.
Force feed loader, there you are.
And get credit.
And it removes the once infamous snow berms from the medians of the streets. And so, I mean, I used to get phone calls about this stuff. And since we got the Burminator, I don't think anybody's called me about snow berms.
We used to get phone calls. They're just good now.
It's good. Yeah, it's good stuff. That's like a dance with those dump trucks. It's a cool thing. So I'm thinking the Burminator 1 was purchased for used, obviously, for $2,500 and a little bit of TLC in the shop. As a matter of fact, John is going to be retiring here, but he's one of the folks who was instrumental in salvaging the Burminator. But it's a pretty good bargain, because before that we might have expended $10,000 on a single snow event. So that's a really good investment. Tyler Palmer and his crew in the Streets and Fleet Division have developed coalition purchasing practices to reduce the cost for sidewalk and road construction maintenance materials for not only Moscow but other participating counterparts around the region. So road building materials. And sand and rock and all of that kind of stuff. They've developed the award-winning Eco Driver program that you heard Keegan speak about earlier, that just teaches people common sense driving practices, including timely reporting of problems with the vehicles. You know, is it making a weird noise? Tell somebody right away. Don't wait. It also involves an annual competition among artists to create these coveted bumper stickers that you see around as well. I started to share this story about Eco Driver with my colleagues on the airport board last week, and they were just kind of thinking it's not a big deal. I mean, teaching somebody not to stomp on the accelerator or not to turn the air conditioning on full blast before you air out the vehicles in the summertime. And then I told them about saving, I think it was $13,000 the first year. We pushed at $18,000 this last year. So it really does make a huge difference in our fuel consumption. And the employees created this. They delivered the program to their counterparts here in the city, and I think it's been so well received by all the departments around the city, because it is the employees themselves have ownership in this idea, and it's brilliant. That department has also initiated the pavement management program that prioritizes the repair and maintenance of streets before they degrade to such a level that they have to be rebuilt from the base up. So that stitch and time saves 9 approach is something that we implement in the streets program. In our engineering department, Kevin Lilly and that group in there have been working on the sidewalk program, and that was something that I was, passionate about from the beginning, to try to get more sidewalks built. But how do we incentivize that for the adjacent property owners? I know Walter Steed has been a real strong advocate for improving the sidewalk system. But this last year, budgetary constraints make it difficult to do this in a community of our size. But we had the Mobility Task Force go around an on-the-ground inventory of our sidewalk resources, and they said, if you just invest in replacing these 10 feet of sidewalk, or you put in a curb drop here, or you get rid of this heaved section there, you can make a world of difference, and not just for people with mobility challenges, people who use wheelchairs, etc., but the casual pedestrian who might fall over that thing, or a parent pushing a stroller or something like that. Our Parks Department does a wonderful job of plowing and sweeping the primary bicycle and pedestrian routes, just in the same prioritization system as we do for motorized routes. So their arterial streets will be plowed first, while our main bicycle routes will be plowed with the Bobcat toolcats that we've had, or the mini dozers that we got out there.